Man, every time I get in front of this camera, I'm just questioning my life decisions. Today in this video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to overcome beat block and increase your productivity as a producer. The method I use is super easy and keeps you creatively in control without increasing your mental burnout. This exact method is how I went from this sample and then flipped it into this beat in just 15 minutes. And then flip that beat again into this new beat in just another 10 minutes. You know, I'm not about to show you some groundbreaking technique or some crazy AI that's gonna make beats for you, but I am gonna show you sort of my process when I have maybe a bit of beat block and really the mindset that I have when I make beats from scratch. So essentially it's just about self-sampling, which is when you take something you've already done and then you flip it, repurpose it and use it for something else. Yeah, it's a loop that I made that is, you know, it's not the best, it's pretty mid, which means it's like most of the loops that I make. We're gonna use this and we're gonna make something else out of it. So when I was making that loop, I came up with this particular stem. And I remember thinking at the time that I feel like that could be used for something else and it sounded like pretty cool. And as you can hear, that's being reversed. So all I did is I pressed reverse again and that just put it back to normal. And then it's also pitched up 300 cents. Now the next thing that I do is probably the most important part of this tutorial. So I cut all of the low end, meaning there's not really many of the bass notes coming through in this part of the melody. And that means we can now create our own new bass line, which is gonna take our old melody and it's gonna completely revitalize it and give it a completely different vibe. That instantly adds so much energy and it sort of is quite aggressive, quite a grungy pattern. And I'm also gonna play this one just to show you a comparison of another direction you can take this, and it all just comes from bass notes. So you can see from that, the bass line is really sort of gonna set the vibe, set where you're gonna go with the rest of this beat. It's key that you cut the low end out of the melody, otherwise it's gonna clash and probably sound pretty bad. And from there, you have something to build off. So this one's really simple. I just added a vocal loop from Splice. I added a pluck. Has a portal preset on it. Then I added a lead as well, and then rain. And literally that's the whole loop, and it just came from that one piece of the old loop that we had. So now if I go back to the original and show you how different that is. Now from here, it's about adding drums that sort of, again, match the direction you've taken this new project in. And for this particular beat, I wanted to use an offbeat snare pattern. Now the snare pattern would normally sound like this. But I wanted to shift the snare back and emphasize the change of the 808 note. I'll just show you quickly using the 808 pattern. We can see instead of the snare hitting here, it's gonna hit when this D sharp note plays. That gives it a really unique bounce, emphasizes that bass line we created in the last project. This principle can also be applied to like a full loop. You don't just have to use a stem. So what I did is I actually took the melody we had from the last project, slowed it down to 146. So we slowed it down quite a lot. We've pitched it down 400 cents for semitones. And I've added this plugin called Auto Chroma and this preset in and out. And that just sort of added some reverb and took some of the high end off. Yeah, one more thing, I forgot to say I reversed it, because if you don't know what to do with a loop, honestly, just reverse it. It's like the biggest fraud thing you can do to make a loop sound good. So yeah, reverse, pitch down, added auto chroma. You can add whatever, portal, halftime, whatever. Now we have this beautiful ambient melody that we can create a new bass line for. So you can see just from those few small changes and adding a new bass line, we've made a completely different vibe. So now it's about using the drums to complement what we already have. And for this particular beat, we sort of have this dark, ambient, redder style beat. So with the hi-hat pattern, I've sort of tried to add in some low notes that have varying velocities just to give it a sort of ambient effect. Then I've also added 3 hi-hats and a kind of a weird snare just to sort of give it some ear candy, something unique in the back. And then yeah, just added a kick and a snare. And what you can also do is you can add more melodies on top, especially if the high end has been cut, because that just gives more space for like leads, for example, which I put in this beat. You know, with this method, the possibilities are endless. I could go and take this again and we could flip it. You know, we've gone from that to this. And that's completely from scratch. Like I didn't use anyone else's kits. I didn't use anyone else's starters. That's all just from me. And this beat took me like 10 minutes probably. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see like how far you could go. You could probably do this like 100 times and you'd have 100 different beats. But yeah, it's not every day something from nothing. Sometimes it's about taking something and making it into something else.